Hello, our friend. How are you today?
Very well. Thank you, my friends. How are you?
We are well. Do you come in the love and the light of the Infinite One Creator?
I do. Do you also?
Yes, we do as well. We haven't spoken in quite some time, yes?
It's been a few weeks. Yes, it has.
Yes. There is much going on in your world as you understand it, yes?
Very much so, yes.
Yes, much turmoil in your Middle East, which is not unusual. This has been an ongoing phenomenon for thousands of years. It is sort of a gateway for service to self to kind of come in and do their thing, if you wish.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, so this is being amplified again, and it repeats in cycles. It's about every 25 years that this occurs, where there's some sort of disruption there. So that's what's occurring right now, and that's sort of the energy behind the dynamics of what's occurring there at this present time.
Okay.
Yes, we would also like to state that this is also a very auspicious time for people on your planet to pay attention to the energies that are occurring and their contributions to it and their ability to neutralize it. Because everybody that has been incarnate at this time has chosen to. So it's almost like, imagine a bazillion souls, and we use this term freely from our from our instruments vocabulary. Lots of souls that have been watching and waiting to kind of dive in and participate and help and sort of try to clean things up a little bit for this planet, because this planet's been in such turmoil. So it's been very topsy-turvy for hundreds and hundreds of years. So those souls that have chosen to incarnate, their mission, but as you know, when you incarnate, you forget. But their goal was to balance it all out so that this planet doesn't have more and more problems that it doesn't really need. Does this make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yes. So that's sort of the energy that's going on right now. The newer children that are coming in, they are more, we say this in a delicate fashion, more emotionally stable and more cognitively inclined to foresee these problems and we don't want to say eradicate, but sort of neutralize them or calm them down. So once they come up to their age of when they can assume responsibility for the things that go on in your society, then you will see dramatic changes.
Now, you're referring to the children that are both fourth density and the third density children that are of a higher dimensional consciousness within third density. Is that correct?
That is correct, but it's going to be more the fourth density children that are going to be able to come up with solutions, ideas, creativity, cohesiveness, bonding, and neutralizing disagreements and conflicts. They're going to come up with better solutions than what you are presented with at your present time. So once they come of age, then they will be able to better facilitate a more cohesive population and a more cohesive conversation between countries and families and individuals, but more importantly, countries. And so get them to sort of evolve and come up with better solutions through dialogue versus bombs.
They're obviously higher consciousness, and their perspective is of what I would describe as more mature, simply because they have graduated from this range of consciousness, the third density.
Yes, they have more wisdom. Maturity comes along with wisdom, but if you can be mature without wisdom and still make poor choices, but you have to have the wisdom in conjunction with the maturity in order to make better choices and problem solve through a different way of thinking, through a different way of being, through a different way of communication. So communication is going to be a huge factor for fourth density to eradicate many of these conflicts that are going on throughout your planet, because guns and violence don't solve anything. They just sort of perpetuate more and more animosity between two groups we'll just be generic about it. But when you have a dialogue, when you can sit down and have a conversation, that requires maturity, that requires wisdom, that requires calmness, that requires a higher vibration and a willingness to coalesce between certain different viewpoints on certain things to reach a neutral point, so that you do not have these conflicts and wars and things. Because once you eradicate those things, the wars and the difficulties and the bombs and things like that, all that money that is spent on that could be allocated towards things like education and food programs and elevating the population to a better place where they can reach their full potential. Yes?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And when my observation, and please add to or correct me where I'm in error, the higher consciousness also results in a behavior that is, by its very nature, more oriented towards consideration of other people.
Yes. So once you elevate the consciousness, then you are more considerate of others. You're more polite. You're more kind. You're more conscientious. You're more considerate of what you say and do and act. And you take into consideration the other person's feelings and where their disposition is in life. And so you can be more empathetic towards what their needs may or may not be. But you take that time, that brief time, that brief consideration for where they're at, how they're feeling, and you can sort of reciprocate how you're feeling and back and forth without it being, without any animosity, without it being ugly, but with consideration, kindness, and love. And so once you can get to that point, then there is less argumentation, there is less conflict, there's less difficulties in the school place, the workplace, just the general atmosphere. And so when you can get to that point, then things become much more harmonious. They become much calmer because you can relate to that other person as if they could relate to you, because you open up your heart chakra and you can be more considerate of others. And that's where things hopefully are projecting towards.
We've talked in previous episodes that the children began arriving in significant numbers around 2003, 2005, and have continued since then. Is that correct?
Yes. Some of them actually have incarnated in the mid-90s. They were sort of like the pre-runners, the kind of the ones that came out to kind of feel the atmosphere, to kind of sort of set the stage, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then the others followed suit. So they were sort of the brave ones that decided, okay, I'm going to incarnate now. It's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. But let me just see if I can just sort of set the stage, sort of set the platform, and then the others followed suit. Mm-hmm. So it comes in waves. So it's not just that all of them came at one time. It comes in waves. So it started in the mid-90s with some children being born, and they felt very uncomfortable, and they had a difficult... Their parents were great. They didn't have a difficult upbringing, but they had difficulties assimilating into the environment and the society that was already established. So they were the precursors, but they were the ones that sort of set the energy for the other ones to come in. So it has to happen in gradual waves like that.
Mm-hmm. But the plan to assist the third density Earth population transformed from relying upon wanderers to be the models and instigators of higher consciousness, and transformed into the fourth density children being the principal instrument for elevating the consciousness of the planet. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So the wanderers came in and they assumed a huge responsibility. But once the fourth density children came in, they came in large numbers, so they can recognize each other. They don't have to say anything, but they can just, when you look at somebody and when you look at somebody and you make that connection, that's what they can do. So So the wanderers were the precursors to sort of get the ball rolling, and then the fourth density children stepped in after that, and they have a recognition amongst one another, whether they know it or not, but they can do it just by looking at one another or feeling their energy, and they instantly connect, and they don't know why, and they say, oh, my parents were weird, your parents were weird. So they try to come up with all these explanations as to why they connect so quickly, but that's what it is. So they're the ones that have now come forward as the next sort of, we don't like the word generation, but the next group, we like that word group, to sort of get the ball rolling a little bit faster and elevate the consciousness just a little bit more. Because if they all think alike, if there's enough of them, yes, fourth density, if there's enough of them that think a certain way and talk a certain way and go on a television a certain way and write a certain way of certain books and poems and whatnot, then it becomes the norm. So that's the design. So, yes.
And again, we had talked before, this is a similar analogy to what they were advocating for when we were dealing with the COVID pandemic, that a certain percentage of the population would develop a natural immunity, and that theoretically would create a herd immunity by virtue of the nucleus, adequate percentage being a nucleus for that transformation. But what we're talking about is not physical. We're talking about the spiritual evolution of the population.
Yes, the spiritual
evolution. Herd theory, herd enlightenment to a degree, or advancement in their enlightenment. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a similar analogy. Yes. So the COVID, that was a whole different scenario. That was designed to teach the population how to control themselves, how to be more cognizant, and how to be more respectful of others and things like that. That was a big backstory for that pandemic.
Right.
And our instrument never got COVID. She never wore a mask. She worked with the public. She was fine. That's a spiritual aspect of that. But what you're speaking of is a little bit different, but it's the same idea where you emulate a certain personality, you emulate a certain aspect of who you are and how you act and behave, and others that want your sort of happiness, or they want to be as comfortable or as calm as you are, they're going to emulate that behavior. So it's incumbent upon the fourth density to demonstrate that. Not that they're trying to change people, but people want to be that calm and collect. And when they're all chaotic, but when they see how certain fourth density children or adults are, they want to emulate that. And so that change has to be incumbent upon the individual to change their own selves in order to emulate the fourth density, so that they can become and sort of gradually migrate into that new density. And it's a gradual thing, it's individual, and it's a choice.
Right. And there has been the expectation, based upon previous communications that you have participated in with us, as well as other entities that have been sharing information about the prospects of, again, and I have hesitancy to name it first contact, because we're obviously having contact right now.
Yes.
Open contact might be a better word. And you had mentioned provided us with the information in a previous communication that depending on the choices that the population makes as far as accelerating their bellicosity, that might that would probably alter the timeline, if not the decision in its entirety, to establish that open contact.
Open contact can be delayed by at least 2 years due to whom you elected to run your United States of America. That's greatly decelerated many of those extraterrestrial beings to want to make contact because of the bellicosity, because of the difficulties, because of the angst within your country and within your Europe, and
right.
because of all that angst and difficulties that has been created, we cannot interfere at this time until you, as a people, decide to, we don't like the word relax, but try to come to some sort of resolution, because what's going on in your Russia, your Ukraine, your Japan, your China, these other countries that you don't hear about on your news, there's a lot of difficulty there, and we cannot interfere, and we cannot introduce ourselves until those difficulties become resolved. Because if you cannot resolve them now and we were to show up, that would be a major problem for your populace as a whole. So we have to kind of do a hands-off approach for now, which is fine because it's been millions of years. So we can do a more hands-off approach for now, and that's what we have to do in order to respect your free will and your ability to resolve these conflicts on your own, because we cannot intervene.
Right. So based upon what you're telling us now, my understanding is that it's highly probable that the open contact will be delayed.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes. Until your planet, it has a lot of controversy between the different countries, as we have before mentioned, and until those get resolved or calm down a little bit, the last thing you need is for us to intervene and come down, and we cannot cause that sort of conflict and that difficulty and add to more problems that you're already experiencing. Because if you can't handle yourselves, then you will certainly have difficulty adjusting to us showing up. More or less,
yeah.
Yes.
Understandably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we take a hands-off approach in that regard, and this is common for many universes, for many planets with peoples and beings on them. So until that can get resolved, we cannot materialize. Let's use that word. Yes, we like that word.
Right.
So we need to just observe. And we are here if you wish to chat, as we're doing now. Yes.
Which is very enjoyable.
Yes. We enjoy it too. But other than that, that's all that we are, how should we say, allowed to do from the Council of Nine. That's about all that we can really.
To do more would interfere. It would be a violation of the law of confusion.
It would be
correct?
A violation of the law of confusion, a violation of the free will. So we cannot intervene. It's just like if you watch a toddler. We are not saying by any means, do not take this the wrong way. We're not saying that you are a toddler. But if a toddler is learning to tie their shoes, do you tie them for them?
No.
You let them figure it out. Right?
Exactly.
You let them figure it out. So same kind of analogy. So we just observe. We want to dive in and help, but we can't, because you will not learn if we do that.
Right.
Can't do it for you.
Right. Question that brings up a question. Those aspects of what we would perceive higher consciousness that are all lumped together as extraterrestrials that have chosen the service to self path do not have that same restriction, or they don't honor that restriction of honoring the law of confusion. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. To what degree are they interfering with those incarnate people, either participating in third density or higher consciousness, that are exacerbating the conflicts that we experience?
They can exacerbate to a certain degree, but you have to remember there's only a few that are in power that can control those things. So the certain individuals that lead your, say, your Middle East, your United States, there's only a few of those people, yes?
Yes.
So they can be easily influenced, but those below them recognize the difficulties, they recognize the problem, so they are less likely to follow suit. So unless they are coerced through violence or threatening their families, which is what they do in your Middle East. So unless they are coerced by that, then they really don't have a whole lot of influence other than on your, how should we say, your top leaders. And so your top leaders are desperate for, you see this today, yes? So you see your president of the United States, it just clamoring for information, for power. You can see that the slipping of the power.
Right.
You could see that in your Iran. You can see that in your Israel. You can see that in your Kuwait. You can see that in your Taipei. All these other countries, and your China as well, they are grasping for power because they're slipping. And we've spoken about this before. The change of the guard is coming, but it's going to take some time. But you're going to see the desperation that is going to prevail before they are willing to give it up. So they're going to become more and more erratic. There's going to be more and more bombings, yes, that you've seen. Yes. More and more violence, because that is their only way to grip and hold on to power, is by threatening and terrifying others.
Domination and subjugation.
Yes, and threatening them into submission. And so until the people decide, no, we've had enough, then it will continue. But you can see the desperation. It is pretty prevalent and obvious. You can see this in your money markets, right? Your markets with the money that goes up and down. And
the volatility.
Yes. That's going to be pervasive. That's not going to improve. We are not projecting the future. We are just saying that you are going to see a trend. And until those that are in power, that are being desperate and throwing bombs around and things like that, and people say, no, we've had enough, then things will change. But it's going to come to a crescendo. And so that's sort of where the energy is going. So the people can do what they want, but it's the energy that is going to change and is changing, which causes all this volatility. It's the energy that's going to change and elevate.
And the changes in energy are felt as threats by the service to self.
Absolutely, because they feel threatened, because they don't understand why they're feeling the angst and the strangeness they do, because the energy of the planet's changing, so they react violently. And so that's their kind of go-to. But as it continues to crescendo and change, they will have to back off, and then things will change. But until then, it's incumbent upon the people of the planet to exemplify love, kindness, sharing, being polite, being nice, being considerate of others. All of those add up so much more than some angry individual that wants to throw bombs because they don't know what else to do. So once all of those energies of being kindness and love elevate, then it will override the negativity. So that's sort of where the energy is shifting at this time, and it's going to be volatile, and it's going to be uncomfortable. We'll say uncomfortable.
A master of understatement, I'm sure. Getting back to my question, though, I don't understand, and I'm asking clarity. I understand the behavioral changes that are demonstrated by those individuals within the population that are polarizing service to self. But they are minions, whether knowingly or unknowingly, those higher consciousness beings that have polarized service to self as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Those higher consciousness beings, not being restricted by the law of confusion, are freely interfering by influence with the population's transformation and or development. Is that correct?
To a degree, but only to those that accept that and believe that that's okay. Now, those of higher consciousness that are service to self, they do have some restrictions. They have to still adhere to the free will of those that they choose to dominate, subjugate. So if those of free will that are being subjugated to that choose to say, wait a second, no, I don't want to do that, then that depolarizes them. So
it depolarizes the higher consciousness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because those that are, let's say on your earthly planet, that suddenly realize, I don't really want to do this, and they decide to shift gears, shall we say, and become more service to others, that depolarizes them. And they have no control over that because you have free will. Okay.
But the nature of their interference is by thought, is it not?
It's by thought, absolutely, yes.
Okay. And how is it that they interfere by thought? Is it just kind of like, and I'm trying to create some sort of analogy, they're just pushing the thoughts that they want to promote towards the individual, and the individual yet has to attract that thought?
All the thoughts can be out there, but if an individual is already, let's say, in a bad place or not feeling well or upset about this, that, or the other, they're going to gravitate more towards the negative thoughts.
Right.
So the negative thoughts are going to be more powerful to them, kind of like a magnet. So they're going to pull them into themselves. So it's up to the individual. If they change their attitude, their frame of mind, whatever, they can sort of like a magnet, like repel them away. But if they're in a negative frame of mind, then they're going to, like a magnet, attract those thoughts to themselves, because they're all floating out there.
Okay. Well, if I may qualify or my understanding, the thoughts, regardless of what we're describing them as positive or negative, are absolutely neutral of emotions, but the thoughts that they're attracting are most probably going to be interpreted negatively by the individual attracting them.
Yes, it's up to the individual how they interpret the thought. All thoughts are neutral.
Right.
All thoughts have no polarity on them, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
But the individual that attracts them, if they're in a bad mood or they're negative or they're angry, whatever, they're going to attract certain thoughts and they're going to interpret them as negative. So then that polarizes that thought towards negativity. And so on and
but
on
they're
it
the
goes.
one that is attaching the negativity to it.
They're the
because
ones,
of their condition of being.
yes, they're the ones that are identifying it as negative. They're the ones that are putting on a polarity on it, so they identify it as negative. So each thought is neutral. Like, I like you, I don't like you. So what? But if I'm in a bad mood or I'm upset or somebody broke up with me or whatever and I'm angry, then I'm going to track I'm going to, say, oh, I don't like myself. I'm going to track that thought, and then I'm going to interpret it as I'm a negative person. Mm-hmm. So that's incumbent upon the person to interpret the thought in the condition of being that they are at that particular moment.
We as the incarnate individuals are entering in a condition of being that is a lower vibration, which we would feel as negativity. And so regardless of the thought that we attract, it is highly probable we're going to interpret that as I don't like experience. Is that correct?
Depending upon where you're coming from at the time.
Right. If you're in a lower vibration, if you're
in a lower vibration, and you are in a negative lower vibration, and you are how shall we say, down in the dumps? Yes. So you attract a thought, so you're going to interpret that as, oh boy, that's terrible. Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes me feel sad or angry or upset. Then that's your interpretation of that thought. Whereas if you're on the opposite spectrum, oh, well, I'm happy, I'm having a good day, everything's fine. Oh, well, okay. Oh, well, that could be a good thought, bad thought, but I'm going to leave it as neutral.
And that's representative of a higher vibration.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But when we feel negatively, when we feel have a negative interpretation of an experience, is it always or just most of the time that we're interpreting it as negative because it is challenging some belief that we've incorporated into our identity?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, because anything that makes you feel upset, uncomfortable, angry, there is something in you that's being triggered by that, because the same scenario. Yes, let's say I don't know. Let's say you got in a car accident. Mm-hmm. You could be incredibly upset and sad and crying and angry and mad, and then the other person could be like, oh, okay, fender bender, no big deal, let's call the insurance. It's your perspective on the same situation. It's the same situation, yes, right, but exactly. It's your interpretation of it that dictates how you are going to respond and feel about it. So one person could be like, oh, fender bender, oh gosh, this is such a drag, let me just call my insurance company. And the other person could be screaming and crying and mad and yelling at you. That's their interpretation. But it's the same situation, but the reaction is reflective upon what is going on inside of you.
Right. So we're interpreting that experience as negative because it challenges the authenticity of our identity. Yes. Which, again, is who we think we are. It's our perspective of who we think we are.
Yes, and it challenges you also, not only that, it challenges your sense of control over the situation. So if you feel like you have no control over the situation, you're going to be very upset and angry and upset. But if you feel like, okay, car accident, I'm going to call insurance, do A, B, C, and D, and you're calm about it, that's a completely different response to the exact same situation. So you can apply that to any situation in your life.
But the reality of that experience triggering that negative interpretation, because it challenges the authenticity of our identity, is actually a gift. It's an opportunity for us to become aware of the belief that we've incorporated into our identity that we need to become aware of and let go of. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, most people do not have the awareness to recognize that. So when these situations occur over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, they have the same response.
Right.
And so they get the same response, and they get very upset, and it has the same outcome. So there's no learning that's occurring there. So until you take a step back and look at it we've stated this before, until you take a step back and look at it from an objective standpoint, whereas you're just the observer, you step out of yourself, you're just the objective observer. What happened here? Blah, 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 A, B, C, D. You have to be the objective observer in order to gain the full benefit of whatever experience it might be that might upset you, because if you put personal emotions into it, you're going to be skewed and you're not going to get the objective view from it. So you have to step back, take a look at it, evaluate it as if you're just an observer, and see from an objective point of view what happened and what you are to learn from it.
Okay. And this is not only within the capabilities of a third density consciousness, it is also what we are tasked with as we evolve towards actually becoming awareness, is it not?
Yes, that's exactly what awareness is. Awareness is looking at a situation objectively, taking emotion out of it and seeing what can I learn from this and how can I not take it personally. And that's so difficult for third density.
But that's our task in order to fulfill the curriculum in preparation for graduation to fourth density, is it not?
Yes, to not take things so personally. What happened here? What did I do? What did they do? Okay, what can be done better next time? And take the personality out of it and look at it objectively. And that is the best thing that you can do. That's the best way to learn, because that is the most, that will give you the most clarity in whatever situation you're in.
And as we're escalating that awareness and gaining the capacity to do that, then the influences of service to self from whatever source becomes absolutely negated.
Non-existent. Yes. Yeah. Yes. But you have to have that objectivity. You cannot be just emotionally involved in every tragic event or horrific event. And we get it that, you are emotional creatures. We appreciate that. But you have to take that objectivity in any situation that you're in that's dramatic in order to get clarity, because if you don't, then you will not be clear in your decision making and moving forward. And when you encounter that situation again or something similar to it, you will not have that objectivity in order to make a clear decision.
But this is something that the fourth density children have already achieved and surpassed, and therefore, having graduated to fourth density, this is the ability that they bring to the table as in their incarnation, is it not?
Yes, it is. And this is why many parents, they say, not all, but many parents say, oh, my child is so cold. If they don't feel, or they don't express emotion, or they don't cry, or they don't get angry or frustrated or mad. And what they don't understand is that these children already have that objectivity to look at a situation, see it for what it is, respect it for what it is, learn from it from what it is, and not take it personally. And that's very difficult for a lot of parents these days. Yes.
But my understanding is the fourth entity experience is very emotional as it explores love. Is it not? It's just the nature of their emotional involvement is not as chaotic as third density.
It is very emotional, and it's at the level of love, but they have almost sort of the introduction to wisdom and sort of how to regulate that. So they know to not fly off the handle. They know to not beat up on their sibling. They know to not scream at their parents. They have that just borderline wisdom, but they come from a place of love. And so if you come from a place of love, you come from a place of calm. Yes?
Yeah.
You're calm. You're objective. You're respectful. You're kind. You respect the other person, so you're not going to just overreact. So you're going to be calm. So in most situations when people would expect you to fly off the handle and yell and scream and blah blah blah, these kids can be calm and come from a place of love and understanding and respect, and they don't overreact because they take time. They take that pause that we spoke about. Yes, remember that pause that we spoke about a long time ago?
Yes.
You take that pause before you open your mouth. You don't just blah blah blah. You take pause and you think about what you're going to say, and you do it in a respectful manner. And that's what these kids are doing.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Any other words of wisdom you would like to share with us? We've had a whole session full of wonderful wisdom from you. Thank you.
No, I think we're going to let our instrument go. She's kind of tired, but we appreciate your time and your consideration, and it was lovely to speak with you again.
As always, it's my pleasure to speak with you.
Okay. You have a good rest of your nighttime, is it right now?
Evening, yes.
Evening?
Evening,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we're outside of this. This is confusing for us. Okay. Was that good?